San Antonio taking a big L here, and I think there's way more to the story. It's really short, but I think there's more that I think I'm really suspicious as to what really happened here because they're claiming this as a murder suicide. I'm gonna just be real with y'all. I think it's more to this than that. I don't think this mother actually caused her death or her son's death. I think there's more to this. Some viewers may find the following content offensive and controversial. The information in this video comes from multiple sources, including court records, official police charges, news web articles, and interviews. This video commentary also contains my personal opinions about the facts of this story. The point is to use this story as a cautionary tale in hopes of preventing tragedies like these to children going forward. Viewer discretion is advised. That is your official disclaimer. And I'm getting this story from expressnews.com, so thank you for the article. I did cross-reference this to make sure it was a reliable source, and it looks to be. So I hope everything in here is correct because it seemed like it matched up with everybody else's story. But nonetheless, let's talk about this real quick. So I know a lot of people, after reading what everybody had to say online, was really confused about this. But I didn't think it was what it was. Friends and family of a mother and a 3-year-old son who were found dead the day after an Amber Alert was issued for them will be hosting a vigil Friday. Now, the reason I chose this news source is because of the back-end details. So I want y'all to hear this out. The bodies of Savannah Krieger, 32 years old, and Kagan Krieger, the little boy right there that you see, were found Tuesday in a drainage easement behind the Tom Slick Park on the city's west side. The family says that they will be hosting a vigil at the park at 6 p.m. They are requesting everybody bring a teddy bear, which they will use to donate in their honor. And I think that's great. No balloons, no balloons. It's horrible for the environment. So something like a teddy bear or candles, much better. Good choice on that. Sheriff Javier Salazar said Tuesday that his office is still investigating the case, but they're working under the assumption that their deaths were the result of a murder-suicide. He found a gun near their bodies. That's the assumption so far. Krieger and Caden's father were involved in a custody dispute, Salazar said, and court records show that they were scheduled to attend a custody hearing the day the Amber Alert was issued. Two things to this. First of all, who was going to win in the custody dispute? So I would like to see which way the pendulum swings on that. So if the father might have potentially won custody from the mom or even split custody, I think makes a huge difference in the motive. So I think the father needs to speak up. He needs to be honest. And I think that would give us a much better idea as to what happened. So if the father were going to lose custody, he would have to be considered a suspect because I think that's a direct correlation to this. On the other end, if the mother were going to lose custody to the father, then maybe the motive of murder-suicide makes a lot more sense. But this article was the one that expressed that there was a custody dispute going on. Never any reason to take somebody's life. It's not worth it. Work this stuff out. Be adults, okay? Caden and his mom were last seen around noon Monday at a Children's Lighthouse, Alamo Ranch, after she picked him up from daycare to take him to a doctor's appointment, according to a social media post from the sheriff's office. Krieger filed for divorce on March the 7th. So mom filed for the divorce and applied for a protective order against her husband on March 15th. Now we're starting to crank this up a little bit. Where there's smoke, there's usually fire. She filed for a protective order. So she filed for a protective order because she was afraid for her and her son's life. You would have to think that maybe he might have been involved in her death and her son's death. She received a temporary restraining order on March 7th requiring Caden to be removed from his father's custody. Y'all catch that? On Friday, Krieger filed a motion for a protective order. But on Monday, a judge ordered that Caden be delivered to a courtroom Tuesday morning. According to the order, Krieger's husband said his wife vandalized the home where he was living, pulled Caden out of school early, and sent messages to him saying goodbye to your son. The order also stated that she pulled all the money out of her bank account. He said his wife had suicidal ideations. Damn, I've never heard of that word. Ideations within the last 2 weeks. Salazar said family members began to worry about Krieger when her phone kept going to voicemail. She also turned off the location tracker on her phone. So maybe she did. Authorities found Krieger's vehicle abandoned at the park, and a park ranger located the bodies. I think a lot of whoever was going to win custody, if she was granted this custody, not custody, but protective order, if she wanted to protect herself from the husband, then why would she take their lives? Like, just none of this makes any sense. But let me know what you guys think. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. For those who might have listened to this story, that part about the custody dispute, I think adds a huge caveat in here that you absolutely have to consider. So let me know what you guys think now that that's added. I'm doing too much here. So let me know what you guys think about that now that that's added in there, because that is a huge, huge piece of the story. Do me a favor and leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Let's listen at these news videos. I only got a couple of them. My bad. Here we go.
Good morning. Everybody ready? Okay. Well, we're out here at the scene of what's being handled now as a homicide. Last night, what started all this off is we got a call about 6:30, 8211 Dover's Den at a residence not too far from here off Culebra for a report of a welfare check. There was some concerns regarding Savannah Kreider, who resides at that residence with her young son, Caden Krieger, my apologies. When we initially arrived, there was no vehicle there on scene, and deputies were not able to make entry to the residence. So later in the evening, we were able to make contact with a family member that eventually was able to get us into the residence with consent, and we were able to get in and found some things. I won't go too much into detail on what was found, but they did find some things that led us to believe there was certainly cause for concern for the child. And as well as for Savannah. Throughout the night, we were searching the area. We were able to get some phone pings out in this area here. During the night, we were able to find her vehicle, Savannah's vehicle, out here at the park, and that vehicle was recovered. But utilizing SAPD Eagle and Park Police, we were not able to find them last night in the park. The plan was to wait till daybreak and then resume the search out here. This morning, a park police officer was out here accompanied by our SCORE deputies, and a park police officer was able to find 2 bodies in the ditch back there off the backside of the park. At this point, we're not even clear that it's park property, but there's a drainage easement that runs behind the park, and that's where we were able to find 2 bodies. At this point, we are operating on the premise that it is Savannah and the child that we have found. It appears that there's some evidence that there may have been some gunshots fired, but again, at this point, it's just too early to give anything beyond tentative identification. Anoche, aproximadamente a las 6:30 de la noche, nosotros recibimos una llamada a una casa ahí en el oeste del condado para checar el bienestar de una señora, Savannah Krieger, y un niño, Caden Krieger, de 3 años de edad, que ellos viven allí. Cuando nuestros oficiales llegaron primero, durante la noche no pudieron encontrar nada. It's possible at this point.
Can you talk about what the welfare check?
Thank you for the Latin translation, sir.
An investigation continues now into the deaths of a missing toddler and his mother.
Yeah, their bodies were found in a West Side park yesterday. The sheriff's office says it believes it was a murder-suicide.
KENS 5's Sarah Duran following the investigation for us. Sarah, this is absolutely just heart-wrenching. What else have you learned about the case?
Yeah, so the Bexar County Sheriff's Office says 3-year-old Caden Krieger was at the center of a custody dispute. Yesterday, a court hearing was scheduled for the boy and his mother, but the two never showed up, Sarah. This led to a frantic search by family members, then an Amber Alert. But then just hours later, it was canceled when deputies found 2 bodies near Tom Slick Park. That's going to be on the city's west side. Sheriff Javier Salazar there tentatively identified the 2 as the missing boy and his mom, Savannah Krieger. He said there was evidence of gunshots fired at the scene and pointed out the mom as the sole suspect. Residents from the neighborhood where they lived were shocked to learn what happened and shared memories of the.
That is a nice house. Damn. I know money don't buy happiness. I know it don't. I'm just saying that's just a big nice house. Maybe that's relatively normal. Just saying. It's just an observation. Nice house.
Boy.
I mean, I have twin boys, they're 5 years old, and I could just only imagine that situation. Like, you just never know what's going on. I mean, it's always good to smile at somebody and ask them how they're doing, because you just never know.
And at this point, we are still waiting on the medical examiner to formally ID the 2 and determine the cause of death.
Well, we know the cause of death was a gunshot wound. We just don't know who did it. Let's keep this thing going.
An investigation continues now into the deaths of a missing toddler and his mother.
Yeah, their bodies were found in a West Side park yesterday. The sheriff's office says it believes it was a murder-suicide.
KENS 5's Sarah Duran following the investigation for us. Sarah, this is absolutely just heart-wrenching. What else have you learned about the case?
Yeah, so the Bexar County Sheriff's Office says 3-year-old Caden Krieger was at the center of a custody dispute. Yesterday, a court hearing was scheduled for the boy and his mother, but the 2 never showed up, Sarah. This led to a frantic search by family members, then an Amber Alert. But then just hours later, it was canceled when deputies found 2 bodies near Tom Slick Park. That's going to be on the city's west side. Sheriff Javier Salazar there tentatively identified the 2 as the missing boy and his mom, Savannah Krieger. He said there was evidence of gunshots fired at the scene and pointed out the mom as the sole suspect. Residents from the neighborhood where they lived were shocked to learn what happened and shared memories of the boy.
I mean, I have twin boys, they're 5 years old, and I could just only imagine that situation. Like, you just never know what's going on. I mean, it's always good to smile at somebody and ask them how they're doing, because you just never know.
And at this point, we are still waiting on the medical examiner to formally ID the 2 and determine the cause of death. The sheriff said
we begin with breaking.
We were able to find 2 bodies. At this point, we are operating on the premise that it is Savannah and the child.
A local family struggling to accept today's outcome of a frantic search for this missing 3-year-old. It is news that no parent wants to hear.
Yeah, they're missing loved ones. A woman and her 3-year-old son both have been found dead. As Katrina Weber reports, a child custody battle appears to be at the heart of this tragedy.
A happier moment caught on camera for Savannah Krieger and her 3-year-old son Caden gave no indication of the way their lives would end. Shortly after their photos were released as part of an Amber Alert this morning, Bexar County Sheriff made the sad announcement that both had been found dead.
The park police officer was out here accompanied by our SCORE deputies, and a park police officer was able to find 2 bodies in the ditch.
Sheriff Javier Salazar says they made the discovery near Tom Slick Park this morning, hours after finding the 32-year-old mother's car abandoned here. Deputies had begun searching last night after getting a call from worried relatives.
There was concerns from family members that they were not able to make contact with her. There was her phone was going straight to voicemail.
Salazar says both Savannah and Caden Krieger appeared to have been shot, most likely by Savannah herself. Although the investigation is continuing, the sheriff says he feels fairly certain that there's no one else involved. He says they did find a gun nearby. As for the reason, there is only speculation, but Salazar says there was an ongoing child custody battle with Caden at the center. In fact, he says there was a hearing on that matter scheduled for today. Instead, the issue was settled with deadly gunfire. Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
So now it's either the father did it or the mom did it. And I think a lot of who to point the finger at is going to be based on who was going to lose the most, like who was the more hateful person in the party. It's just hard to know unless y'all knew them personally, knew what was going on, knew the details, and knew what was at risk, and knew who was going to get custody, who was going to get what. I think is going to determine a lot of who actually was guilty here. And it's, to be honest, it's looking bad for the mom because it's looking like she might have caused her own demise as well as her son's. Real sad situation. It don't have to come to this if people start putting the children at the forefront and put their personal feelings aside. Behaving this way is selfish regardless of whoever did it. So RIP to that beautiful little boy. He definitely deserved an opportunity to grow up and become something great. And I just think his parents were probably being selfish. Let me know what you guys think about this. If you have more information than what we have, we would love to know. But let me know your thoughts for now. Leave a comment, okay? Thank you.